Hi everyone, thank you and welcome to tonight's webinar. We're going to be talking about light bespoke base facials with Kerry. So I'm going to hand you straight over to Kerry, but I will be here in the background answering any questions that you do have as well. So feel free to write any in the chat. And then I'll try to answer any as we go along, but otherwise I will throw them to Kerry at the end. So thank you, Kerry, for joining us. I will pass it straight over to you and look forward to tonight.
Oh, thank you, Jess. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be back again. So obviously we're just starting our day here in the UK. I know you've probably all had a long day at work and you're jumping on now to hear about light-based facials. So thank you very much for joining. I'm going to be talking you through today how you can basically really take your facials to a whole new level using energy-based devices like lasers and IPLs. So without further ado, do excuse my voice, by the way. I went on my daughter's school trip yesterday and the kids all had like sort of colds and various things. So I woke up this morning with a very croaky voice. Anyway, a bit about myself. So I am Kerry Belba. I am a laser practitioner. I've been lasering for 17 years. I started back in 2005 on my laser journey. I'm also a freelance laser trainer. So if I was in gorgeous Australia, I might even be training some of you guys. But yeah, so I am a trainer. I have various sort of laser qualifications that we have over here in the UK. I was also recently appointed as an executive board member of the British Medical Laser Association, which is really exciting because traditionally they were a board basically full of, you know, physicists, scientists, dermatologists, and so I'm now representing the vast majority of laser and IPL users in the UK who use it in aesthetic practice. So I'm sure in Australia it's the same. You know, I'm sure that the majority of IPLs and lasers are probably used in cosmetics. So I'm also a key opinion leader for Lynton Lasers, who are just the most amazing company, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about as well. And I also write articles for Aesthetic Medicine magazine. So that's a little overview of myself. So I'm hoping to bring my sort of 17 years of experience to you guys tonight, so that you can elevate your practice and your treatments. So who is this talk aimed at? So basically, it's aimed at anyone in the aesthetics industry who is currently offering facials and skin rejuvenation. You may not be currently working with any what we call energy-based devices, so like lasers and IPLs. You may only be offering injectables and or skincare. You might actually be working with some kind of devices but would like to expand. Or the worst one is you might actually have invested in equipment but not actually getting the results you were promised. So this is basically anyone who is in aesthetics. So what are light-based facials? So basically, light-based facials are any facials using energy-based devices like lasers, intense pulse light sources, and LEDs to rejuvenate the skin. And in my clinic, I use a whole combination of lasers, IPLs, and LED because I have a Dermalux in clinic as well, which I am a massive fan of. So in very simple terms, when you apply different wavelengths, so wavelengths are made up of different colors. When you apply different colors of light onto the skin, there are certain reactions that occur in the skin. And when you match those lights to the skin conditions or concerns, that is when the real magic starts to happen, where you can really get those amazing, you know, results, those amazing selfie before and after photographs for Instagram. Really, it comes down to like, products are brilliant and I use amazing products in clinic, but really to get those stunning before and after photos, you really want to be using light-based treatments. So the way I explain it to my clients is that, you know, skin is like every other living organism. You know, it responds to light. It's about, you know, if you put a plant in a windowsill, the minute those rays hit those leaves, there's the stuff that happens on a cellular level. And it's the same with skin. The minute you apply certain wavelengths to the skin, there's like a cascade of biological reactions that occur within the tissue at different depths. which then in turn have an impact on the various skin concerns. And the thing I absolutely love is that with the right tools, you can totally create really true bespoke facials for your clients. So it's not like a one treatment fits all. You can assess your client, look at exactly what they want to improve, what their skin concerns are, and then match those wavelengths to that skin. So how did light facials come about? So basically, it's really interesting because back in sort of 2005, 2006, when I started this laser journey, as you can see from this photo on the slide, we have a before and after photo of what essentially just looks like, broken vessels. And this lady came to me, she, had loads of broken vessels on her face. She didn't actually have rosacea, which is an inflammatory skin disorder. She was told by her GP she did have rosacea, but she didn't. She was just very outdoorsy. She had horses. She spent a lot of time in the sun, in the elements and the weather, and she just had a lot of broken vessels. So we treated her for that. But what was really interesting is I don't know how well you can see this photograph on your screens, but when you look at the before and after photo, yes, her vessels have significantly reduced, but the quality and the texture of the skin was just phenomenal. It was more plump, more firm. The pores had shrunk, and she was just like, oh my goodness, my skin is just amazing, aside from the veins. And so these light-based facials have basically evolved, from basically just realizing what was happening with the skin when we were trying to treat one thing, off the back of that, what was actually happening as in terms of like the overall results. So in its very early phases, it was called CFT, combined facial therapy. And back in the day, we would literally do like a glycolic peel 1 week and wait a whole week for the client to come back before we could then put a laser on them. And back then it was only really a collagen stimulating wavelength. We weren't actually applying any other wavelengths as a combined facial therapy. But as time has gone on, you guys now get the benefit of all those years of experience and looking at before and after photos and realizing just what's going on in the skin, so that you can now obviously offer that in your own clinics. So how do they differ from traditional facials? So I'm old enough to remember, although I was a teen in the 80s, that back in the 80s, an advanced clinic facial was basically a cleanse, a moisturize, maybe a steam, some nice products, a bit of massage, etc. And those are all fantastic. And, when I go to a spa, there's nothing I like better than having a pamper. But I think in this day and age, I think, people are much more savvy. They know what is possible to obtain in terms of results. And when they have just an hour of clinic time, they expect to see those before and after results. And that's really how traditional facials differ from light-based facials, because with lasers and IPLs, you can tackle all the skin concerns that they have, not just the nice moisturize and steam and cleanse. You can treat acne, you can treat pigmentation, you can treat inflammatory skin conditions, you can deal with texture, you can deal with lines and wrinkles and acne scarring. It's all there available to you to treat with the right, what I like to call in my clinic, light tools. I have my bit like on like Darth Vader with his saber. It's about having the right tools in your toolbox to be able to address certain skin concerns. And as a result, skin just looks amazing. When you have the right tools, you can really, truly transform your client's skin. So as I said, how do you create those facials? By having the right tools. I just wanted to go back a little bit. So what I mentioned earlier on was about how different wavelengths produce different colors of light. And this is really essential, because when you truly know your wavelengths, and at the moment, if you're completely new to laser or IPL and you've never really come across any of these devices, it might sound a bit sort of complicated or a bit daunting, but it really isn't. If you get the right equipment with the right training, oh my goodness, that the world is just your oyster. it's phenomenal what you'll be able to do in clinic. And that's why when I come in every day to my clinic, no matter what's happened at home, I was telling Jess earlier about trying to get out the door, with my 5-year-old and the builder that's just arrived, etc. And I come into clinic and it's like, I'm in my happy place now. This is where I create my magic, because I have the right tools. And when that client comes in the door with their various skin concerns, I absolutely know that I'm going to be able to transform their skin for them. And it's a really nice feeling to have that confidence, to know that you can really make a difference for your clients. So training is absolutely key. You are only ever as good as your training. And if you choose your equipment wisely, it should, and you choose it from a reputable company. So I work with Lynton lasers in the UK. I only have Lynton equipment, and I also have a Dermalux. If you choose your equipment wisely, then you will also get amazing training with it. So I do something called the Illumi Facial. And basically, as you can see from these photos, this is why I get so excited, because the results are just stunning. It involves using a triacid peel, and then I use 2 different IPLs. So one works at 650 nanometers, so that's the collagen boosting one, and then the other one at 585 nanometers, and that is the amazing wavelength that you can get on the X-Lite, which deals with, and you can get the 650 on the X-Lite as well. It deals with unwanted broken vessels, pigmentation. The entire facial is aimed at doing that amazing overall, dealing with everything. It deals with texture, it deals with veins, it deals with pigment. So you get that amazing before and after photo. Now, interestingly, although I wouldn't necessarily sell it as a pore reducing treatment, it always reduces pores to an extent. You can see from this photo, just forget obviously it looks amazing because of the pigment that's gone as well, and just how bright it's looking. But if you look closely, look at the actual texture of the skin. And this isn't even laser skin resurfacing. This is purely the Illumi Facial, which you'll be able to do with the X-Lite. So she was absolutely thrilled, as was I. And it makes for amazing photographs, that you can put on your Instagram that will attract more clients. When I started back in 2005, there was no social media, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. It was all, I don't know about Australia, but in the UK, we have this big fat yellow book called the Yellow Pages, which doesn't exist anymore because basically there's no need for it. But that's how clients used to find me, in a massive big directory that people used to use mainly as a doorstop in their homes. So times have changed and people are very visual. The clients are going to want to know why they should be investing with your clinic and with your expertise and your equipment. And being able to show them photos like this it just speaks volumes. The treatment sells itself when you're able to produce photos like this. So as I said before, how do you create bespoke light-based facials? Basically, know your wavelengths, which you will get with your training. So different colors of light have different effects on the skin. So when we're dealing with blue light, okay, which is around about 400 nanometers. So anyone who's new to this, with lasers and IPLs, well, not all lasers, but with IPLs particularly, we are dealing with the visible light spectrum, okay, and also some lasers are in that spectrum as well. And it works it goes from about 400 nanometers up to sort of 1100 nanometers. But the visible light spectrum is from around sort of 400 to sort of 700 odd. And this is basically light that you can see. If you flash it, you can actually see a light being emitted. And within that spectrum, at different stages, whether it's 400 or 600 or 700, it produces different colors of light. So think of like the colors of the rainbow. It produces different colors of light, and basically different colors of light stimulate different processes in the skin. So if you have an IPL doesn't work at one particular wavelength. It actually covers many different wavelengths. The advantage of that, and in simple terms, all you need to know is that you have a device that when you flash it, it creates various different it has very different wavelengths output, which means that you can address lots of different skin concerns. So blue light is great for killing bacteria. Red light stimulates fibroblast activity, so basically increases collagen. And then when you get to near infrared at around 830 nanometers, so this is the light you can't really see, that has really amazing anti-aging effects like tightening and firming the skin, but also really powerful anti-inflammatory effects, you know, when you get really inflamed skin conditions like acne, rosacea, and even psoriasis. So I combine in clinic IPL treatments with LED. And for some treatments, I will only use my LED. Others, I will use my LED first before I then use my IPL, and vice versa. So having the right tools, having the training, and knowing when to apply those is your absolute key to being able to create these bespoke light-based facials in clinic. So I thought it'd be quite fun to have some actual examples of clients, because it's all very well talking about different lights and wavelengths and etc. and how amazing the equipment is, which it's all good stuff and it is absolutely true. But there's nothing like a good before and after photo in my book. So I thought I would show you exactly what I've done with each client. So this client was 28 years old. Okay, she had both live acne, which we call acne vulgaris, and she also had a PIH, which is post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. It's a very long word, but in essence, what it means is you get a spot, it leaves a mark. So that's the PIH. She also had quite significant acne scarring. Now, what you do at home is absolutely paramount. I say to my clients, you know, what you do at home twice a day with products is paramount, okay, as well as having in-clinic treatment. So I always get my clients on the appropriate skincare to help support the in-clinic treatments, okay. So this particular client had 3 Illumi Facials, which is the same treatment, but tweaked slightly differently to the client you saw before. And then I also did some skin resurfacing. So skin resurfacing, which I think in Australia you may be getting at some point, is amazing for acne scarring, so with the pitted acne scarring. But in terms of the live acne, some of the marks on her skin, so overall quality, the brightness of the skin, this is all a combination of treatments, and the Illumi facial is absolutely key for that, which is what you'll be able to do with the X light. So as you can see, her skin is just incredible. It's brighter, it's more luminous, it's more even, even just aside from the acne scarring, her skin is just completely different. So this client was one of my very first clients back in 2006, and she had basically back then sort of the equivalent of the Illumi facial, but done in stages. So remember earlier I was telling you about how, initially you'd have to bring a client in and do a peel 1 week and then wait a whole week, etc. Now Lynton have devised something called the triacid peel, which is devised specifically to do right before a laser treatment. So as long as you fully neutralize the acid, you can then do a laser treatment. So she had the old style sort of Illumi facial, and the results were great, but it takes longer. And we didn't do as much collagen boosting on her. So she would have had even better results had I done the now traditional Illumi facial. But as you can see, her skin is fantastic. And as I was saying earlier, aside from the redness, it's the whole quality of her skin that has improved. And although even sometimes on photos you can't always tell as much as the person themselves, the photos are great and they show a great before and after, but it's the person who is going to be raving about their skin and saying, and one of my clients actually left me a review on Google after doing these Illumi facials, and she was just like, I love my skin. She was just absolutely thrilled. She just thought she was stuck with that skin. Her mother had the same skin. That was just, the lot that, the card that she'd been dealt. And these days it's really not true. Yes, in your grandmother's time, they were pretty much stuck with, whatever the card that they got dealt. But now, if you have the right tools, you don't have to settle for any sort of, hereditary skin issues like broken vessels or acne, etc. So this was the client again, the one that I showed at the beginning. So she, just a bit more information about her. She was 55. She clearly has very photo damaged skin. So that is skin damage from sun, basically, which I'm sure in sunny Australia, and you're entering into your summer now, you must be getting, you know, you must have a lot of clients who, although you're very good at staying out of the sun, I know that, but I think even, you know, I have friends who live in the Caribbean, and even though they wear their sun cream all year round, etc., I think, you know, as we know, sun cream doesn't block it out completely. And I think when you live in a hot climate, you know, most of the year, although I know obviously you get winters, but not quite like our winters, then you're going to have a really good client base of people who really want to rejuvenate their skin. So this client was just generally had large pores. It was just really dull. She had really uneven skin, and she was really, really quite unhappy with her skin. So I had her on some really good skincare at home. So I always get my clients on a glycolic wash, because that will get rid of the dead skin cells that allow the laser and IPL light to penetrate much better, and a good vitamin C and a retinol. And there were some other bits as well that I had her on. So in clinic, she had 3. So she had 2 facials, actually. I know because I've used her in one of my, I write articles for Aesthetic Medicine magazine, and she was one of the before and afters. So I remember, excuse me, it was 2 treatments. But generally, some people might, I always say, you know, I prefer to overquote than underquote, because I never get disappointed clients. And that's not because I can do everything 100% of the time or do exactly, you know, what they want, but I'm very good at managing client expectations and just being very honest, you know, and saying, yes, we can, or no, we can't, or well, you know, maybe we'll have to, you know, sort of try it little by little and see. But I am good at managing their expectations so that they can, you know, they can't turn around and say, oh, you said it will be gone in 1 treatment. I would never say that. Even if I think they're going to get amazing results after 2, I always say, you know, it can take between 3 to 6. Let's count on 3 and then see where we are. And as it happens, this client only needed 2 sessions and she was delighted. But if you overquote, you're only going to get, you know, happier clients when they get the results that much faster. So for her, she drastically improved her skin. It's brighter, it's even, the texture is fantastic, and she had really good pore shrinkage. So how do you get these amazing results? And I don't know about in Australia, but in the UK, we have a lot of people who sell lasers, IPLs, etc. And it can be a bit of a minefield. And the reason why this RAF pilot is staring out at you is because I always talk about my dear, very, very missed grandfather, because he had a massive impact on me in terms of, you know, how I choose anything basically in my life, whether it's a laser or a lawnmower or a hair apply, you know, anything at all. I always choose the best possible equipment that I can afford, because especially with your business, you know, you're in it for the long term. So my grandfather, you know, he flew hurricanes in the war and tempests. He was a chartered engineer. He was an astronomer. He was just absolutely one of these sort of very unique, don't find them very often sort of human beings. He was just wonderful. I'm clearly very biased, but he really was amazing. And he then worked in aviation afterwards. And, you know, in his line of work, there was absolutely no room for, you know, substandard equipment, basically. You know, you cannot just put a rubbish piece of kit in an aircraft that's going to go, go into a war. You have to work with really good components on every level. And he instilled in me from a very young age that should always invest in, you know, the best you can possibly afford. And he was from the post-war era where there really wasn't much money. So, but he had that drilled into him because of his background, and he instilled that in me too. So I, you know, when I first opened, I knew I was in this for the long term. I did not want to buy some cheap piece of kit that wasn't going to get me the results. And I think in this day and age, when I started, there wasn't even Instagram or social media or Google reviews. You are only ever going to be as good as your equipment and your training. And if you want to be in it for the long term, and produce amazing results, then please do think very carefully about where you purchase and who you purchase your equipment from and what lasers you're investing in. So I only work with Lynton lasers because they are just absolutely fantastic. So, you know, the clinical training, the equipment itself, it is an absolute winning formula. And it's why the only reason I was giving 2 talks recently. I did one in Manchester, which is in the north of England, and one in London. And I was saying, you know, the only reason I'm actually standing here talking to you guys today is because I was very lucky that I invested in the right equipment to start with, because it's only as a result of my own results that I'm getting in clinic that I'm able to stand here and show you these amazing before and after photos. You know, despite the fact I'm a trainer, despite the fact that I have all these like laser qualifications, if you give me a rubbish piece of kit, I am not going to be able to get the results out of it. It doesn't matter how good I am or how much knowledge I have. It just is worthless if you don't give me the right tools to do the job. So that's all I wanted to say really over this. The other crucial thing, the thing that makes the Lynton IPL or the X-Lite so different to any other technology out there is because it has something called dynamic reflex technology. Now, without getting too bogged down in the science, okay, in very simple terms, when you are trying to treat a vessel or a hair or a pigmented lesion, the technical term for what we're doing is called selective photothermolysis, i.e. what you're trying to do is to heat that vessel or that hair or that sunspot, but protect the skin. So you are trying to selectively heat the target. You don't want to be heating everything up because that's when you're going to be causing burns and blistering. You want to selectively heat the target. Now, the dynamics reflex technology in the IPL means that the way the energy is delivered, it delivers it over a certain amount of pulses, allowing the skin to cool by up to 50% before the next pulse is delivered. So you see it as one flash, but it's actually mini flashes allowing the skin to cool. If you don't have that, now my understanding, I'm not a physicist, but my limited understanding is that it is actually a very difficult technology to replicate, which is why there are many IPLs out there. They are coming out of, you know, various different countries. You know, I know China produces a lot of them, and I'm not saying every Chinese product is you know, it's no good. I'm not saying that at all, but there are a lot of technologies coming out of countries that produce these on a vast scale, and they just don't do the same job at all. If you don't have this dynamic reflex technology, then you're not going to be able to do effective treatments, because what happens is, you can imagine, if you're not able to make a device that can selectively heat a target, what do? If you risk heating everything up, you're going to have to turn that energy down. Now, if you turn that energy down, that's the right thing to do, because you don't want to be burning and blistering people, but you're not going to get the results. These before and after photos that I'm showing you, you are not going to get those vessels to coagulate if you cannot selectively heat those vessels and protect the skin. You're not going to chance burning your clients. You're going to end up lowering the energy. So that's why you know, if you're looking at an IPL, I mean, in this country, you can buy IPLs in Boots, which is like a chain of pharmacies. They're about £300, so it's probably a few $100s, and you can do hair removal at home. They are, in my own opinion, completely rubbish. They don't work. The energy outputs are so low, it's ridiculous. But the point is, if you can't make dynamic reflex technology, then you're not going to do effective treatments at all. So how do you decide where to buy your equipment? So all I can tell you is that from my own sort of standpoint, and that is that for me, I call it like the circle of trust, or a bit like one of the Hollywood movies, the Meet the Parents. Are you in the circle? I don't know if you guys have seen that film in Australia, but it was a hilarious film. It's probably about 20 years old now. But anyway, so if you're not in the circle of trust, you're out. And it's a bit like that for me. You know, I do not allow anyone in my circle who do not share the same ethics as me. And I think if you have really good ethics, if you want to do a good job, if you treat your clients like you would your friends and family, which is exactly what I do, you know, I practice the same ethics on my clients that I would, you know, my loved ones. If that is how you are on an energetic level, that is probably who you're going to attract as well into your circle of trust. And I think it's a winning formula, because I don't invite anyone into my circle who does not share the same ethics as me. And that's why I only work with Lynton, and I also work with an LED company called Dermalux as well, which I know is starting up in Australia too. The reason I choose these companies, and obviously we're talking about Lynton today particularly, is because the equipment, but not just that. It's if you're new to this, your worst nightmare would be to just be flogged a machine and then off you go. You need that clinical support. You need to know that there are people on the end of the phone, the end of an email, with clinical support, clinical updates, good training. If you get a client and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not quite sure how to deal with this, you want to be able to pick up that phone. You want to make sure that whoever you're buying your equipment from is going to be totally there for you, not just at the point where you're handing over the cash, but actually there for you. Lynton, I love working with them because they totally have my back. They are as excited and engaged in getting the results for my clients as I am. And that's the only kind of company that I personally would want to work with. So if you get your circle of trust right, if you have the right foundations, you get the right supplier, the right equipment, the right training, it is absolutely, not only is it the right way to do things in my opinion, but it really does provide the right foundations for your winning formula for your clinic. So education, really, really important. Obviously these qualifications, I'm not really sure what you have in Australia, but I think it's really important to get. So first of all, whoever you get your equipment from, you need to be getting amazing training to go with it. And then I would really encourage you to do any additional qualifications that you may have in Australia, because I think having the right equipment, especially with this dynamic reflex technology, do not entertain buying an IPL if it doesn't have dynamic reflex technology. You will not get the results. Honestly, it's just not possible to selectively heat a target and protect the skin if it doesn't have this technology. You're just going to be heating everything up, either burning people, or you're going to have to turn it down so low that you're not going to get the results. So I wouldn't entertain that at all. So make sure you do get something like the X-Lite, which has dynamic reflex technology, to get those results. Make sure you get amazing training, and then if you can, do additional qualifications. It gives you the absolute edge over your competition when you're producing those fantastic Instagram before and after photos, because you have dynamic reflex technology in your IPL, like the X-Lite. You're going to be, it sells itself, and that's what I love. You don't, I don't see myself as a salesperson at all. I hate being sold to. In England we have a particular company that does like double glazing, and they come and knock on your door. They're quite well known, and it's my worst nightmare. I hate being sold to. But if someone said to me, wow, I can sort out your 5-year-old sleeping through the night problems, I'm all ears. So I see ourselves as problem solvers, as estheticians and as laser practitioners. We are problem solvers. And when you can solve people's problems by using the right equipment, being able to produce those photographs, putting it on your Instagram, them talking to their friends about it, it sells itself. You don't have to do the selling. It will, your before and afters are going to do that for you. And you can just enjoy being the problem solver for all your clients' issues. The other thing I was going to say is, I don't know if you have a laser association in Australia, but the British Medical Laser Association, which is fantastic, you can join. It's literally £45, which is, I'm not sure what the exchange rate is with the Australian dollar, but it's probably about $70 or something. It's really worth it. We do a conference, part of it will be streamed virtually. And it is a really fantastic association to belong to if you really want to up your game and be at the absolute forefront of all things laser. So financing your purchases, anyone who doesn't have equipment at the moment and thinks, oh my goodness, I don't think I can afford this, etc. It's amazing. When you do this exercise, I really would encourage you all to sit down and break it down into a daily amount. So whatever equipment you're purchasing, work out, you know, when you want to be able to pay that off by, and actually what income that would bring in. Because whenever I've done that, I've been like blown away thinking, wow, I can totally afford this because I'm going to be earning X. So so do look at your daily income, when you would like to pay the machine off by, because I think you will find that you will be able to pay your machine off a lot quicker than you realize. So and also it's the whole chicken and egg. Sometimes people say, well, actually, I just want to wait another year because I'll have more money then, and then I'll be able to, it's the whole chicken and egg situation. My advice would be, no, you don't necessarily have to be financially stable before investing. I think you need to have a robust business plan and know your figures. That is crucial, and then go for it. You know, the reason I'm telling you this is because for years I only had a certain amount of equipment, and I wouldn't say I'm a risk taker at all. I take what I call calculated risks. I have to really know my stuff, I have to sit down and look at the figures, etc. And then I'm happy to go ahead. But I'm not a risk taker as such. And whenever I've done this exercise recently, I've now realized that with hindsight, if I'd actually invested earlier, my business would be so far ahead now. So if I was talking to my younger self now, or I'm talking to you guys who maybe are just getting into it, is, oh my goodness, just go for it, because my business would be so far ahead now if I'd actually invested in more equipment earlier on, rather than taking the slowly approach. So any questions from anyone? I'm hoping that that's kind of covered. It's kind of quite a quick overview. I mean, each slide could be like a webinar in itself. So so yeah, hopefully that's given you something to think about.
We did have a question. So we do have the 3Juve as well, which does have the resurfacing handpiece. We do have that fractional laser. And we have had a question that why would you start with IPL first before the fractional laser if you're doing someone's skin?
So it completely depends how they're presenting. Okay, so first of all, if they have live acne, you do not want to be doing laser skin resurfacing. So this is fresh acne. You would only go straight in with a fractional skin resurfacing if they don't have any broken vessels, they don't have any actual spots, and they just have pitted acne scarring. Then you would go straight in. But I think when you combine fractional skin resurfacing with peels anyway, you do get better results. Even though the fractional handpiece ablates the upper surfaces, the better the quality of the skin to start with, you know, the easier it is to work with anyway. But if someone had a lot of, so for example, yesterday I had a client in and she had a lot of broken vessels, and she had pitted acne scarring, and she didn't want to deal with the vessels, she just wanted the scarring. And I did say to her, you know, that the resurface handpiece creates a lot of heat in the area. You know, it literally feels like your face is you know, on fire just for a couple of hours, and then it goes. If you already have a lot of broken vessels there, that can actually exacerbate that condition. And obviously you wouldn't want to do that on someone who has rosacea either. But she had a certain budget. She was like, I'm not bothered, I don't care if I get more broken vessels. So I did the treatment for her, but she did it in the full knowledge that that is not how I would have gone about it, but she was happy with that. So so yeah, but it's horses for courses. Live acne, you want to get the acne under control before you deal with the scarring, for two reasons. One, you can't fractional skin resurface over spots anyway, but also you need, you know, those spots are creating the scarring. So there's no point dealing with the scarring while they still have spots. You need to get rid of the spots to get that under control, to stop further scarring, and then deal with the scarring.
Perfect. When we're doing Illumi Facials, what Fitzpatrick's can we go up to? Can we treat all Fitzpatrick's types, or are we limited?
So it depends. So the Illumi Facial Traditioner is using both IPL handpieces. It's the 650 and the 585. The 650, you can treat a lot more skin types than the 585. So the 585, you're really only going up to skin type 3. Okay. The 650, you can actually go up to skin type 5 because of this dynamic reflex technology. Anyone out there at the moment who may already have an IPL, anyone watching, please do not put an IPL on a Fitzpatrick 5. The only reason the Lynton machines can do that is because of this dynamic reflex technology, whereby it allows the skin to cool by up to 50% before the next mini pulse goes in. And that's the only reason, you know, normally, my goodness, you would never put an IPL on a Fitzpatrick skin type 5, but that's, and I'm really glad you brought that up actually, because that illustrates perfectly why the Lynton IPL is so different to other IPLs out there and why you can safely treat skin types 5. It does come down to knowing how to skin type though as well. You know, if you get a 5 and a 6 wrong, it will go very wrong. Okay, so it's, if you can confidently skin type, we should do actually another webinar on that, on skin typing.
That'll be fun.
If you can do that confidently and you get a proper 5, then yeah, it's absolutely fine. So for a skin type 5, I would do an adapted Illumi facial. Obviously on a skin type 5, we don't tend to see, you know, broken vessels anyway. So I would definitely do the triacid peel, and then I would do like a 650 collagen stimulating. I actually add in my Dermalux at the end of my Illumi facials. I do 10 minutes of LED as well. So yeah, you can totally tailor it, but you wouldn't use a 585 beyond a skin type 3.
Perfect. I know that the 650 and the 585 both do rejuvenation. Why would you choose a 650 over a 585 and vice versa?
So the 650 is basically the collagen boosting one. Now you do get collagen boosting with the 585 as well. But if someone came in literally with like completely clear skin, they had no broken vessels, no pigmentation, there's no reason to use the 585. You would basically use the 650. So it's very rare you get that, because I think people, when they want skin rejuvenation, we've all been exposed to the elements in the sun, you're always going to get a certain amount of, you know, uneven skin tone, etc. But the 650 really is purely just for collagen boosting. And you do get collagen boosting with the 585 as well. One of the nice advantages of going over, so when you do the Illumi facial, you do go over it first, always with the 650. And that's because if you have someone like the lady I was showing you, let me just see if I can go back actually. No, can't seem to go backwards. So when you get that lady with the uneven skin tone, when you go over the first time with the 650, you get a certain amount of darkening because there's a certain amount of melanin absorption with the 650, which then makes it even easier to treat when you go over with a 585 for like sunspots. So that's the right way around to do it.
That's all the questions we have today, Kerry. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to let everyone know that we were scheduled to do an acne webinar with Kerry next month. Because it was so close to Christmas, and we know that everyone is going to be so busy in salons, especially because it was on a Thursday night, we have decided to postpone this one, and we will do it with Kerry in January. So when everyone is a little bit quieter in their clinics and has a little bit more free time, I think it would just be a little bit easier that way than getting everyone really stressed at Christmas time.
Yeah, and I was just going to say as well, if anyone, you know, wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Laser Skin Solutions UK. I have a Facebook page, and also during lockdown I did quite a lot of webinars with Lynton lasers as well. They're all on YouTube. There's lots of information out there. And yeah, I look forward to doing another lot. I mean, I'm available to do whatever you like, actually. We could do one on Fitzpatrick, we can do one on pigmented lesions, when to treat, when not to treat, things like that. So so if anyone watching, if you have any particular requests or anything you'd like to see covered, then, you know, do let Jess know, and maybe we can look at it.
Perfect. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much for your time, Kerry. Enjoy your day today.
Yeah,
we're going to head off to bed soon, but you enjoy your start of your day.
I am literally, my first treatment is an Illumi Facials. So I do a lot of them, you know, daily. So so people often think of laser as like hair removal, but you know, I treat, most of what I do now is skin rejuvenation in various different forms. So skin is huge now, and I think with the whole Instagram selfie, it's you know, people, that is what they want. They want to have amazing skin. And I think as well, I'll just say quickly that I, you know, one thing I always normally mention is that people often say to me, can you make my skin look great? And it's like, well, actually what I'm doing is I'm making your skin the healthiest possible version of itself, because when these wavelengths hit your skin, there's a cascade of biological reactions that occur, which you know, it makes your skin, you know, work. It reduces inflammation, it gets rid of, you know, the unwanted bacteria, it gets rid of vessels, it makes your skin function so much better, because when the light hit like the mitochondria, which are like the powerhouse cell of the skin, everything speeds up, you know, the healing, the cell turnover, cell renewal. And what I'm doing is I'm getting your skin to function better, and off the back of that, it will look great. But actually I'm improving the overall sort of skin health, and that's kind of like the way I like to approach it. Really, you look after your skin like you look after your body, basically.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great approach to take.
Well, look, thank you very much for having me. I hope you all have a lovely day, and yeah, and obviously if I don't see you, then have a great Christmas. And
You
yeah,
too. Lovely Christmas and good New Year.
Thank you. We'll put some dates together for January.
Definitely. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Jess.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.